goes Mike Posner. He throws his hands in the air. I act like I'm surprised, even though I've set this whole moment up to get noticed. And he produces a bag, plastic bag of pills and says, "You want one of these?" And I didn't even ask him what it was. I was like, fuck it. And I took the drugs. And like the song says, when I woke up the next day, I felt 10 years older. When I finally got sober, I felt 10 years older. And I woke up that next morning and I was just alone. Everyone else was in Ibiza with their friends. It's like Vegas, You don't go to Vegas alone. I was alone. I just woke up feeling about as sad and dreadful as a man can feel. That's what that song's about. Oh, I know are sad songs, sad songs.
You're listening to part 2 of my incredible interview with Mike Posner. If you haven't yet listened to part 1, be sure to check that one out first. Without further ado, here's part 2 with the awesome Mike Posner. We talk about a few seminal moments in your career. We're going to talk about a few more as we go through the show. Mm-hmm. Big Sean is one. Mm-hmm. You have a thing for airplanes. So album songs with the word Delta in it, flight numbers. But one of the seminal moments that happened in your career was after a flight attendant served you a meal. Talk about that, and how does a meal change your entire perspective on
Wait,
life?
I don't know what you're talking about. You got to remind me. You know my story better than me.
There was a flight attendant that served you a meal. Yeah. And you said you had this epiphany that you were going to, for every meal that, for every album sold, for every album sold, you were going to give a meal to someone who needed it. Focus on New York and Detroit.
I get it, and I know why I forgot it now. I had an album come out called Pages, and idea, which was part of marketing idea, but also part of a really good thing, which was for every album that I sold, I wanted to shows how old the idea is too, because buys albums now, we stream. For every album I sold, I wanted to serve a meal. But the album never came out. My career went cold, and I got shelved. The album still isn't out to this day. So
you gonna put it out ever?
Yeah, there's a lot of politics that go into that, because my old label owns it that I'm not a partner with anymore, and we're working on it. It will come out for sure.
Okay, we got to move on to what is truly one of my favorite songs of all time. This is ironic because Matt, my producer, and wherever I shoot studios, it's sort of like the football players, basketball players. Okay. They get off the bus, they got their music on, headphones on, and they're just jamming to motivate you. So I fire up my podcast by playing your song.
Which one?
I took a pill.
Hey, I took a pill in Ibiza.
I love it. I was gonna ask you to sing a few verses later, but let's go back to 2012. You're with Avicii, and you took a pill to impress him. You guys were friends. He was your buddy. You felt like he wasn't judging you if you had a hit song or not. That's 2015. You're with him in Ibiza, and you have spring break, and you're looking around, and you wrote this song acoustically first, and then it was mixed by Sieb, a Norwegian producer, and the thing just fucking exploded. Today is one of, I think, the greatest songs ever written.
Thank you. Wow. Thank you.
Tell us about the song.
Well, I wrote the song a couple years after the night, and I had achieved a lot of success, and then it all disappeared. So I came out the gate with Cooler Than Me, and we talked about that, and I enjoyed the success, and and we talked about moving in the van, but really my career had like completely went cold, and my career was considered over. If you spoke to someone in the music industry in 2014, they say Mike Posner, they'd say, "Oh, he's a great songwriter," but his artist career is over.
One hit wonder.
He's a one hit wonder. And I would go online and I'd go on my Twitter and, I'd see people just call me a one-hit wonder. And
ouch.
yeah, it hurt. It hurt. And the real thing I was looking for was something that no one else could give me. It was a sense of security. Security doesn't come from other people. It doesn't come from your bank account. It doesn't come from your relationship with your spouse. It doesn't come from your relationship with your parents. It comes from your connection with God. Or if that word rubs you the wrong way, with life with a capital L. I didn't have that. So I was looking for it in all these different ways. And one of the ways I was looking for it was I ended up at my friend Avicii's concert, and I'm in the VIP. It's when I still drank, so I'm drunk. And I'm looking at him on the stage, and I'm thinking, used to be me. Used to be me. And I told Avicii's manager, who I was standing next to, I said, I'm going to go try to get a better view of the stage. And I'm going to leave the VIP. But the real reason that I walked from behind that velvet rope was not to get a better view of the stage. It was, I was hoping, praying that somebody in the crowd was going to recognize Mike Posner. Was going to remind me that I exist.
Wow.
That I matter. And my prayers were answered. A guy with no shirt on goes, Mike Posner. He throws his hands in the air. And I act like I'm surprised, even though I've set this whole moment up to get noticed. And he produces a bag, plastic bag of pills, and says, you want one of these? And I didn't even ask him what it was. I was like, fuck it. And I took the drugs. And like the song says, when I woke up the next day, I felt 10 years older. When I finally got sober, I felt 10 years older. And I woke up that next morning and I was just alone. Everyone else is in Ibiza with their friends. It's like Vegas, You don't go to Vegas alone. I was alone. I just woke up feeling about as sad and dreadful as a man can feel. That's what that song's about. And I don't know why the vibration of my sadness harmonized so perfectly and powerfully with the vibration of what the public wanted to hear at that time, or maybe what the public was starved for, which was honesty. But those two vibrations made a beautiful chord, and that song became very popular, as you mentioned. And it thrust me into the next chapter of my career and my life.
The beat's amazing. The lyrics are amazing. And when I hear the song, it's clearly somebody who's made mistakes, but they're honest with their reflection. They look in the mirror. Mm-hmm. And for me, it's a story about redemption. When I hear that, I'm an underdog. You are, to some extent as well. This kid in Detroit making music, it's impossible till it becomes possible. But it's a story about, hey, I fucked up.
Yeah.
I acknowledge it. And now my future is ahead of me.
Yeah, you want to know my favorite part about that song, I Took a Pill in Ibiza, is now I'm 10 years older than when I wrote it. And not one of the lyrics is true about my life anymore. My life is transformed to the point that every single line in that song is false. Or just it wouldn't apply to my life now. I took a pill in Ibiza to show Avicii I was cool. Like, I would never take drugs from a stranger, put my body in danger now because I love myself. You know, the chorus, all I know is sad songs. I'm happy now. I have struggles. I have challenges in my life for sure. Life keeps coming, but my life is a dream. I love my life, and life loves me back. You know, I'm just a singer who already blew his shot. I get along with old timers because my name's a reminder of a pop song people forgot. My name's not a reminder of a pop song people forgot anymore. My name, now that I walked across America, climbed Mount Everest, my name's a reminder of what's possible. My name's a reminder that if you keep going, you could do anything. My name, I think, is synonymous with inspiration. I hope. And so that's my favorite part about I Took a Pill in Ibiza now is I sing it. And it's about a chapter in my life that I overcame. And I'm so proud of that. I'm so proud of that.
You should be. I mean, you are an inspiration. When I met Doug Evans, we'll talk about him in a few minutes.
Yeah, Doug!
I'm partners, and shout out to Doug for introducing me to Mike. I'm grateful. You're inspiring. But just going back to the song, when you wrote the song, you never thought it'd really be a hit. If you look back, what's your favorite verse of the song, if there is a favorite verse that was the most impactful to you? And would you mind just singing that verse on the show?
I don't know what my favorite is, but there's a third verse, right? So you mentioned the original version of I Took a Pill in Ibiza is an acoustic version of the song. And there's 3 verses. And in the remix, which is the version that got really popular, there's 2. The third one is cut out. And so the third verse says, what does he say? I took a plane to my hometown. I brought my pride and my guitar. And why say guitar? Well, my friends are all gone, but there's manicured lawns and the people still think I'm a star. I walked around downtown, yeah. I met some fans on Lafayette. They said, Mike, tell us how to make it. We're getting real impatient. I looked them in the eyes and said, you don't want to be high like me. Never really knowing why like me. You don't never want to step off that roller coaster and be all alone. And you don't want to ride the bus like this. Never knowing who to trust like this. You don't want to be stuck up on that stage singing. Stuck up on that stage singing. Oh, I know are sad songs, darling, know that I know are sad songs, sad songs.
It's so fucking good, by the way. So thank you for doing that.
Thank
If someone had told me when I first was introduced to that song, and we've listened to that song 300 times at the office.
Yeah, he's not bullshitting me.
There's no bullshit. And this is, maybe more. And it's on my workout playlist. It's on my wake surfing list.
That's awesome.
And if someone had said, hey, I'm going to be here with Mike and he's going to be singing the song for me.
Yeah, that's
and
awesome.
I'm going to be singing 10 words with him, I'd be like, this is fucking awesome. Anything is possible.
Hey, I'm proud of you too, because you snapped on 2 and 4, which is the right beats to snap on. And oftentimes you'll find white people are unable to do so. So just congratulations. You've done the impossible once again. You met the girl despite running cross country. You've snapped on the right beats. What else can you do?
So you love this story. So it's weird. I've always there's this thing where my brother had a drum set growing up, and he was in a band. And I wasn't allowed to touch the drums.
It's like
But
Step
when
Brothers.
he would, right, it was never. Rush is my favorite band, by the way. I'm
Yeah.
the drummer, so Neil Peart, and I know drums was what you played, you played first. But I would sneak on twice, and I'd play his drums. But I had drumsticks. So when I saw you in your dorm room at Duke, I thought how I had my drumsticks, and I would play them so hard that the wood on the desk would start splintering all in the air.
Yeah.
It was super fun. And when I was 35 years old, I'm at Costco and I see a $399 Ludwig drum set on the shelf. And I brought that thing home and I taught myself to play the drums.
Nice.
Yeah. Now I have a DW 8-piece drum set in my bedroom. It's literally next to the bed because it's the only place where you could
Double
do it.
kick?
Single kick.
Yeah.
Single kick. And I'm self-taught.
But Neil had a double, right?
Neil had a double. I mean, I've seen Rush in concert 12 times. And when I was younger, I had no money, right? And so I'd sit in the back, but I think it's the greatest 3-piece rock band in history. And certainly the best band that's come out of Canada, in my opinion. But as I got older and when I finally made money, man, I was in the front row.
Yeah, dude. As you should have been.
And I would always yell to the roadies or to drummers. And I typically get good tickets now. And when I want to be in the front row, I'm in the front row.
Yeah.
And so I'll say sticks. And so when Neil was done, the roadie came over and he gave me a sticks. They're in my office. They're hanging in my office.
How cool is that?
It's fucking cool.
How cool is that?
It's fucking cool.
There's a moment I had when I was 16, and there was this band I loved called Dilated Peoples. They're a hip hop trio, one DJ and 2 MCs, and I love them. And I went to go see their show at St. Andrews Hall. And similar to you, we got there early with my 2 buddies, and we were in the front row, front and center. And they were opening up for another band, so most of the crowd was there for the other band. And me and my buddies, you imagine these like 16-year-old white kids, and they're just knowing all the words, going crazy, and we're just all in, right? That's how I am when I go to a concert. I'm all in, right? To this day, if I go to a concert, I don't want to be in the VIP. I want to be like in the crowd, dancing, going crazy. So the band notices we're going crazy, and the DJ Babu rolls up a joint and he lights it and he hands it to Evidence, one of the rappers, and he passes it to me. And just that moment, I mean, think of the symbolism of that moment. For me, it almost crystallized in my consciousness that there's this barrier between being an audience member and the guy on the stage, and it's not as high as you think it is. Like, you can make the transition from crowd to stage. You can do it. And that was just such a special moment. And I'll never forget the pull I took out of that joint. Not because of the joint itself, but because of what it meant, you know.
A lot of people, I mean, from Detroit. I'm a classic rock guy. I mean, I grew up with Bob Seger. I love Bob Seger. I've seen him a bunch of times. A lot of people have rock star fantasy. I have a rock star fantasy. So I taught myself to play the drums, and I go to
What do you mean by rock star fantasy?
Rock star
here?
fantasy.
Yeah.
Like you're a famous musician on stage in front of 80,000 people at Wembley Stadium, and
I thought you might mean you're alone with the rock star in your bedroom. That kind of a rock star fantasy.
That's not my fantasy.
I just wanted to clarify.
That's not my fantasy. That'd be a different kind of fantasy, and it definitely would not be with a rock star. It'd be with somebody else,
like a pop diva fantasy.
Yeah. But I go to Nashville on business sometimes. We own a bunch of townhomes there. And I'll always go to Kid Rock. You been in Nashville before?
Mm-hmm.
So there's all these, what do you call them? Music halls where all the country guys have, whatever they're called. And there's this great band at Kid Rock. And I'd never played, we have a vacation home in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. And we have bands come in. It's a residential community. So years ago, I said, all right, can I play a song? It was the first time I ever hit a drum that was mic'd up. Like, oh my God, I was just like, the electricity from that thing was awesome. I played a Garth Brooks song, which I had never heard. What's his famous song? And it's weird with the beats because I can hear a song and play the song without ever hearing the song. The words. It's like a weird thing. Mm-hmm. But I go to Nashville now and I pay $100 a song. And I'm up there. There's like, I don't know, 500 people there on 2 levels. And the first thing they said is, can you actually play? I mean, we're a real band. And I said, I'll get by. It's fine. But it's fun. It's my rock star fantasy.
Good for you, man. It's beautiful.
So, shot a video at Duke. Mm-hmm. We were in a Detroit Tigers hat, great hat, jeans, and you wore a sweatshirt that said that you don't have to be high to be dope. And I think, what's the message here to all the kids out there that are smoking, the musicians, they're in the wrong crowd? What are you going to say to all those people?
I mean,
think they got to smoke to have fun.
Oh, dude, largely, look, anything that's not making you a better version of yourself, you want to stay away from, So one of my heroes is the Zen monk who passed away, Thich Nhat Hanh, and he says retreat is about re-entry. So if you're using some kind of drug, whatever it is, if it's marijuana, for some people it might help their life. I don't know. I'm not here to cast judgment. For me, when I smoke weed, I'd get paranoid, weird, and I'd eat unhealthy food, and I wouldn't make better music, and I thought it was cool. I thought I was cool doing it. It added a mystique to my persona, but it didn't help my life. And so I just had to stop. And alcohol was the same way. Alcohol was, I never was an alcoholic, thankfully. But I would drink and the next day I just feel bad. And it would prevent me from being my best. And I couldn't show up in my life the way I wanted to. And it just didn't, I couldn't justify it. It didn't serve me and my mission at all. And so I think we all have to audit everything in our lives, whether that's the substances we're using and also what we're spending our time on. Not just drugs, but how about porn? I didn't stop watching porn until I was 34, 35.
Porn is bad.
For sure. I mean, so I stopped a year and a half ago. And as a man, you're putting your sexual energy and releasing your sexual energy while you're watching other people have sex. And so for me, I found I didn't have energy left over to then go date in real life, and I found myself in this weird relationship where I think I'm satisfying my needs sexually with these videos of other people having sex, and I'm alone. I'm actually alone. I'm not going out on dates. I'm not I'm doing everything I can to avoid committing and having responsibility to another human in real life. And yeah, it was it's not serving me. What good thing came to my life from me watching porn?
Right.
You could justify maybe how it's not destroying your life, but tell me what good thing has happened in your life from you watching porn. Nothing. It's a waste of time. At best, it's a waste of time. At worst, it's destroying other parts of your life. So yeah, I think, this really wasn't the spirit of your question. The spirit of your question was youngsters, how should they think about mind altering drugs? You definitely do not need drugs to be an amazing artist.
Or to be cool.
No, you're born cool. You're a child of God. You know what I mean? There's 12 billion sperm in that ejaculate, and the one that, made it to the egg is you. You're not a mistake. You're nature's greatest miracle. Like the human body, the human being, you were given a gift, this body that's worth more than Elon Musk can ever make. How do I know? Because if you had, how much money does he have? $300 billion. What does he have?
A lot.
$100 billion, whatever it is.
More.
If you had that $150 billion and I said, you have a disease and you're going to die and there's one cure for it and it costs $150 billion, you would pay the money instantaneously because your life is worth more than $150 billion. Your body is worth more than $150 billion. You're rich already. And so, you don't need to do anything to be cool. You're a miracle. You're more than cool.
There are so many things in all of our lives that we think about doing for a long time, right? There's always reasons not to do them. We're busy, got a career. I work 70 hours a week, at least still today. I have 5 kids. I've got my show. I'm writing a book called Extreme Preparation. I'm doing some paid corporate speaking.
Who, you?
Yeah.
Extreme Preparation? The guy that's asking me questions about my life that I can't even remember? That's on brand, my friend.
Well, that is the brand that I want to create. And we're going to talk about we're going to talk about
I say that in a compliment because
I take it that way.
It's clearly aligned to how you do everything. Like you've clearly over prepared for this interview, and I appreciate that.
There's no such thing as over preparing, and that's part of my teaching and part of my coaching. But going back to our goals and things that we always want to do, there's always reasons not to do them, right? So I want you to talk about hearing about an idea in your friend Teeny's jewelry shop, and then talk about how the death of your father, Avicii's suicide, Mac Miller's overdose, how that affected and led you to doing something in your life that was remarkable for you and for every other person that's heard about it and knows the story, which is one of the most incredible things I've ever heard in my life.
Thank you for saying that. Yeah, so this story starts off with an unimportant moment. And that unimportant moment is I'm in my friend Teeny's jewelry shop. And I hear her speaking to somebody else. I'm not even in the conversation. And she says, my friend just finished walking across America. And like a tractor beam, I was pulled into that conversation. I said, what did you just say? She said, my friend just walked across America. I said, you can walk across America? She goes, I guess. He just did it. And I said, I want to do that too. And I said it out loud, but it was almost as if I didn't. Because no one responded. It lingered. That sentence lingered in the air of the shop like a fart nobody wanted to claim. And the reason it lingered is nobody cares about the thing you want to do one day. Not even you. I left that jewelry shop and I did not walk across America. I read about walking across America. I watched videos about walking across America. I even met people that had walked across America. I interviewed them. I did everything except walking across America. My fantasy stayed a fantasy for not 1 year, not 2 years, not 3 years, not 4 years, 5 years. And after 5 years of putting it off, saying, yeah, I'll get around to it, but right now I got an album to finish. Right now I got a tour I got to go on. Right now there's a wedding I'm invited to that I don't want to go to, but I feel like I have to go to. I'll get around to it when the time's right. After 5 years of doing that, you said it. My dad died. My friend Avicii killed himself. Mac Miller OD'd. My friend Ronnie had a heart attack and died. And I just realized that I'm going to die too. And before that happens, I'm either going to walk across America or not. But it's going to happen this year or it's never going to happen, because there's never going to be a freaking right time. No one's going to roll out a red carpet for me and say, hey, this is it. In fact, the opposite's going to happen. If I decide to do this, I say I'm going to do it, people are going to give me reasons why I should not. They're going to tell me I'm crazy, and that's what they did. They tell me I'm crazy. It's I'm going to hurt my body permanently. It's going to ruin my career that I've worked so hard to build permanently. And they told me no one's going to care. And on the path to doing something great, there are 1,000 reasons. Forget about to quit. There are 1,000 reasons to not even start. I broke my toe before I even, a month before I was supposed to go. I broke my toes hanging off my foot sideways. I mean, there are 1,000 reasons to not even start. Forget about to quit. And if you want to do something great, you have to learn to not listen to every single one of them. And so 5 years after that unimportant moment came an important moment. And that was April 15th, 2019, where I stood off the coast of New Jersey and I was done making plans. I took a step. And step one is take one step. And that's what I did.
I want to go into the 5 lessons you learned from that trip in a minute. I think they're all very, very important. And I think they're applicable to everyone who wants to do anything in their life that's important. But I also want to talk about challenges. So I want to talk about your near-death experience and why is a baby rattlesnake more dangerous than a papa or a mama rattlesnake?
From what I understand, the baby rattlesnakes have not learned resource allocation. So where an adult rattlesnake, if they bite you, they'll hit you with a dose of venom. My understanding is that a baby rattlesnake will dump all of their venom inside you, because they're yet to learn asset allocation.
Got to give them some financial lessons here.
Yeah. So that's why. Yeah.
So what happened? So you're at mile roughly 1,800.
Yeah, I walked. Listen, man, it was a long, crazy journey. But I walked across New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Indiana, Ohio, Indiana. So I did it out of order. Ohio, Indiana, Illinois, Missouri during a heat wave. And dude, like, this hurt. I'm saying the state's fast right now. They weren't fast.
24 miles a day?
Yeah. And I'm walking 12 hours a day. I'm walking through heat waves and I'm walking through unthinkable physical pain. Like, my body hurt to the point where I wasn't sure if I was hurting myself permanently or not. I thought there's a good chance that this arthritic, deathly pain feeling that I have every time I stand up now is going to last the rest of my life. It was bad. It hurts. But I kept going. I walked across Missouri. I walked across Kansas. I walked into Colorado and I could just see the Rocky Mountains on the horizon. And yeah, I'd walked 1,797 miles.
Can't believe I'm off by 3 miles. What's wrong with me?
Yeah. And I put in 16 that day. Like you said, typically I did 24 a day, and finished taking a break and just felt this pain shoot up my leg, and then I heard the rattle of a baby rattlesnake and realized, dude, I've just been bitten by a poisonous snake, and this is serious. I'm in the middle of nowhere, and thankfully there were 2 fans that had showed up to walk with me that day, and one of them got service to call 911, and I spoke to dispatch on the phone. I said, am I going to die? And the voice on the other end of the phone said, I don't know, sir. I ended up spending 5 nights in the hospital. My legs swelled to the size of an elephant trunk, and I went from walking 24 miles a day to I can't walk to the bathroom.
You were airlifted? Because I know you called an ambulance, and who got there first?
I went in the ambulance to La Junta Hospital. I got the anti-venom there. And basically, they gave me all the anti-venom they had. At which point, I got airlifted to a larger hospital in Pueblo. What was that hospital called? I can't remember. But yeah, so I took an ambulance first and then a chopper second.
Scary. What was the Looney Tunes moment, and how did the near-death experience affect the rest of your life?
The Looney Tunes moment was darkness started to just come in from the edges of my awareness. And similar to the end of Looney Tunes where the circles get smaller and it says, "That's all, folks." That was what was happening, but it was just black. The near death, or as near death as I was, it reminded me of the fragility of life, how precious life is. And also, man, just the gift of that snake bite. I really think that was medicine for me. The snake is a symbol of rebirth. It sheds its skin every so often and leaves that chapter of his life behind. And that's exactly what I was doing on that walk. I was shedding a layer of skin to become the new me. And so the snake, like, this wasn't an accident. I was supposed to get bit by that snake. And one of the gifts of the medicine of that venom was not quitting. I had the best reason to quit my walk of all time, which was I almost lost my foot, almost lost my life. And it was such a good reason to quit that, other people wouldn't even think I was a quitter if I'd quit. It would just have been a cool story with a really cool ending that, frankly, I'd probably still be getting interviewed on podcasts about. But this was about me becoming the new me. And that skin that I was shedding, it wasn't fully off yet. And so I knew I had to go back to the place that snake bit me, and I had to keep walking. And when I did so, and when I went up and over those Rocky Mountains, that's when I got the gift of that snake bite medicine. And that gift was, I could do fucking anything. If that can take, I could do anything. And we all can do anything. We're so much more powerful than we believe. But when I think about like the guy 6 months before that was just bopping around depressed in studios that thought his whole life was just writing songs, to who I'd become then, the dude that got bit by a rattlesnake and then kept going, it just gave me the juice that I fueled the rest of my life with.
It's an incredible story. I want you to talk about, you said there were 5 major lessons you learned on this walk. Mm-hmm. We could talk about them for 12 hours, but can we just go through them one by one? What were the lessons? Because I think they're applicable to anything all of us do, where we think about our dreams.
Yeah. I'll give you a bonus one too that couldn't fit in that TED Talk.
Oh, I love it.
So number 1 was, not all crazy ideas are great, but all great ideas are crazy. So when you make the decision to do something great, people are going to tell you lost your mind. And that's a good sign. That's a great sign. If people are saying, "Hey dude, I don't know about this," or "Are you all right?" or "Are you sure about," that's a good sign. That means you are leaving the rut, the grooves that you have made with your life, and you are really charting a new path now. That's number 1. The second big lesson I got from the walk was, I mentioned earlier, step 1 is take 1 step. Before I started the walk, there's all these doubts and negative thoughts circling in my head, bouncing off the walls of my mind. It's like, am I hurting myself permanently? Am I going to fail? Am I going to ruin my career? All this stuff is just going in your head. But once I took the first step, the doubts about what might happen disappeared because I was doing it. I wasn't considering doing it anymore. I had started. So that's number 2. Step 1 is take one step. Now, the third one, this is the bonus one, is as I walked across America, on a daily basis, I was exposed to people doing incredibly kind things. You got to picture, I'm a man with a ghastly beard. I stink. And people don't know who I am in these parts of the country. And they would pull over the side of the road and say, hey, I saw you walking out here and I bought you this Gatorade. They would find me in a park and they'd say, hey, like, who are you? What are you doing here? I'd tell them, and they'd say, I spoke to my wife. We'd like to have you over for dinner tonight. And if you want to sleep in our home, you're welcome to. I think we're nice guys, but we don't go to parks and invite people back to the house.
No.
This was a daily thing. There was a kid named Rowan, and I've told this story a lot, but it's the best. I was on the Wallapai Reservation, and this F-350 pulls over the side of the road, and I used to always ask people 2 questions. One was, why'd you come here? And the second was, if I pray for you, what should I pray for? And people, mind you, they came from all over the country to talk to me and walk with me. So this kid named Rowan gets out of the side of the car, and we talk for a while, and we kind of just had small talk, but there was this feeling like something more is supposed to happen between us. So I hit the, break glass if necessary. My conversational version of that is, if I pray for you, what should I pray for? That gets me below small talk. So I said, if I pray for you, what should I pray for? And he said, Mike, 5 years ago, my dad died from drinking. 3 months ago, three years ago, my only brother, my big brother, died from drinking. And just 3 months ago, my mom died from drinking. So if you pray for me, pray for my sobriety, because I'm the only one left. And he reached back in his F-350 and he put a leather satchel in my hand. Sweetgrass and sage. He said, this'll keep you safe while you walk on our land. I thought he got out of that F-350 because he wanted something from me. He got out of that F-350 because he had something to give me. So the third lesson was, don't be afraid of strangers. We live in this culture where we get exposed to the worst stories, all the worst stories. But I learned on my walk, 99.99999% of strangers are nice people. I wish anyone the least bit misanthropic or cynical about the state of humanity could walk across America, because this was the norm. Number 4, we talked about the difference between reasons and excuses. Your reasons to quit something you care about are always excuses in disguise. And they're logical, they're convincing, and they have the voice of your own thoughts. They know how to speak to you in a way that you want to be spoken to. But in order to do something great, you have to go beyond reasons. You have to be unreasonable. Greatness requires you to be unreasonable. And so you got to look at those reasons for what they really are. Those reasons are excuses. those reasons are your mind trying to convince you to not do something great. And you're stronger than your mind. The fifth lesson I learned when I made it to the other side, I dove in the Pacific Ocean after walking 6 months and 3 days, 2,851 miles.
5.7 million steps.
Something like that. That's true happiness comes from growth. It's not from getting where you think you want to be. It's not from those external circumstances magically changing. It's from knowing you're on the path towards where you want to go. See, a lot of people listening to this right now might be in a moment of pain or suffering in some part of their life. Even if some part of your life is crushing it, there might be another part where there's some pain there, if you're really honest. And the antidote to that pain is quite simple. It's moving it in the right direction, taking some sort of action, even if it's small, in the right direction. And when you're on that path, there's great peace from being on the path. So true happiness comes from growth. And the last lesson comes from realizing I'd done the most incredible thing in my life. I changed my life. But I had waited so long to do it that Ronnie didn't get to see me. Mac didn't get to see me. Avicii didn't get to see me do this. And my dad didn't get to see me do this. They were all dead. They're all dead. And they're not coming back. And so the sixth lesson was don't wait. There's never going to be a right time. We already talked about it, but don't wait.
Even on a more daily, regular basis, I was saying in the office, do it now. Don't let your to-do list get back. I mean, you're talking about major goals. I have a personal business plan. I have long-term goals. I believe in writing your goals down. But to be productive at work, I tell everyone at work, your to-do list should be taken care of that day for the things that need to be taken care of that day. Email responses 1 hour or less when you're in the office on the weekend, and 2 hours or less, because things just pile up. And to be efficient and be productive, I think you have to do it now. I've run that way in my personal life as well. Mm-hmm. I think it's important for relationships. I think it's important for business. Let's talk about more ingredients of success. And I want to talk about discipline. And in our path to excellence, how important is it never to hit that snooze button?
Oh, it's really important, and I learned that from David Goggins. You hit the snooze button, then you're starting the day off with a loss, right? So you want to start the day off with a win, So on my walk, unfortunately, is really hot. I'm walking through June, July, August. I learned the difference between June and July, by the way, and August. I thought June and July, they're both summer. July is a lot harder than June. So you learn that. You learn the subtle differences in the seasons. And so I couldn't roll out of bed at 8 or 9. I needed to clock miles before it got super hot. So yeah, man, there wasn't really any days where I wanted to wake up at 4, but I wanted to walk across America. So there's a rub there. If you want to walk across America, you need to wake up at 4 every day. And so you just get really good at doing the little things you don't want to do. And that discipline, like Jocko says, discipline is freedom. That's true. Freedom isn't the ability to do whatever you want, whenever you want. It's the ability and the freedom to choose a path, commit to it, and follow through. See, because I have incredible discipline that I've developed over my life, I have the freedom to do things like climb the tallest mountain in the world. I have the freedom to do things like walk across America. I have the freedom to do things that require discipline. And, most people never know what that's like, unfortunately. But anyone can know what it's like. It's something all of us can develop.
So you finish the walk. You're exhausted. Can hardly walk. You dive into the ocean. Mm-hmm. And then what was the feeling? And then tell us about calling your boxing coach the next day and going to see him at 4:30, and what developed from that?
That's important, is you asked me what it felt like to dive in the water. It felt like the beginning. It didn't feel like an end. And beginnings always hide themselves in ends.
Why beginning and not end? I mean, it's 6 months, 24 miles a day.
Because it uncovered a new part of me. It's like I pushed a button on the garage and that I didn't know I owned, and there's a Ferrari in there, and it's mine. And it's like, dude, I want to take this thing for a spin. I want to see what this thing can do. I had uncovered a warrior inside of myself, a motherfucker that I didn't recognize, a dude that woke up at 4, a dude that went over mountain ranges after getting bit by snakes, a dude that never quit, a dude that showed up no matter what, a dude that walked 24 miles in heat waves, a dude that, like, I didn't know this existed inside me. I uncovered it. And so when I finished the walk, it was like, wow, I don't recognize myself. I started this thing thinking maybe there's a little more inside me. There's a lot more inside me. And so let's see what else we can do. And that's why it felt like the beginning. And so it was important for me to cement that not only as a concept and a theory, but into my body, my mind, my spirit, and my actions. So that's why the day after diving in the ocean, I didn't want to sleep in. I didn't want to go back to who I was before. I didn't want to forget that garage was there. I wanted to remind myself, I got a Ferrari in here, And so I wasn't going to go party. I was going to go wake up at 4 the next day, and I'm going to put AC/DC on, and I know I need to rest. My body's jacked up. It's hurt. It's messed up for sure. But I'm going to go work hard tomorrow morning. Because I need my body, my spirit, my mind to know we're not done. We're just getting started.
So you had another idea, not another small feat. Did it just come to you one morning and say, hey, I'm going to climb Mount Everest? Let's go do this?
No, it came to me when after the snake bit me and I went up and over the Rockies.
You knew you were going to finish the walk. And you knew after that, when you saw the mountain, say, I want to climb the tallest mountain.
I started dreaming about it. And listen, a dream either grows into a plan or it withers into regret. One of the two. And so I knew that for me to go from never climbing a mountain to climbing the tallest mountain in the world is nothing but blood, sweat, tears, and pain. Like, this is going to be harder than walking across America. But I do hard shit now.
So let's talk about this. We've talked about one of the ingredients of my success, which is called extreme preparation. I want to talk about the preparation that anyone has to do to climb Mount Everest. And Colin O'Brady was on my show. I texted him this morning. He said hello.
Yeah,
so
I love Colin.
Tell us about...
He was part of my journey.
Yeah, so
for sure.
Tell us how extreme your preparation has to be to climb Mount Everest. How long does it take?
Well, it doesn't have to be. You could show up there right now. Someone will take your money.
All right, and die.
You got a lot of it. So you don't have to prepare. That wasn't what I wanted to do. I wanted to show up to Mount Everest and I wanted to belong there.
And succeed.
I wanted to succeed, and to succeed to me, let's be really clear, was to make the summit and come back down safely. That was success. And it was belonging there. It was, I didn't want to show up like some white dude who didn't know what he's doing. I wanted to be, by the time I got there, I wanted to be a real mountaineer. And so that was the game I wanted to play. I wasn't interested in just showing up. Even if you said, Mike, you just show up, you can make the summit. I didn't want to do that. I wanted to go through the transformation of not knowing anything to becoming a guy that belonged there. And that's what I did. So a lot of people don't do it that way. And some of them make the summit. Some of them die. Some of them, it's a different thing. For me, this was a spiritual journey that Colin was a part of, and he introduced me to John, my coach, Dr. John, and was a part of. And I spent the next year and a half climbing mountains. Dr. John Kodrowski, he was my coach. He has a great line. He says, train for climbing mountains by climbing mountains. So that's what we did. Year and a half, I climbed 71 mountains. And some of those training climbs, I risked my life on. This was real. And we would do things that, they obviously weren't as tall as Everest, and you weren't subject to the same lack of oxygen, but we did moves that were way harder than anything you got to do on Everest. And I'd look at John, I go, why the fuck do we have to do like this? This is fucking crazy, like fall you die kind of shit, And I say to John, like, why do we have to do this? You don't even have to do this kind of move on Everest. He said, because when you're on summit day and you're on that ridge and you look to your right and there's a 10,000 foot drop, and you look to your left and there's a 10,000 foot drop, but you're on a fixed line, you're not going to be scared. And he was right. When I got on summit day and I looked to my right, there's a 10,000 foot drop, left 10,000 foot drop, I wasn't scared of the heights. I was scared of some other things, like my toes were getting cold and some other stuff, but he trained for climbing mountains by climbing mountains.
I think it's incredible you did that. And I know on the way up, you're also passing dead bodies of people who were just there a couple of weeks before you have the same dream that you have.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty sobering.
Mm-hmm.
When you saw a dead body on your way up, you probably saw a bunch of dead bodies. That scare you?
No, it didn't scare me. At the time, this might sound callous, but this is the truth. They're just in my fucking way. There's one line, and these guys, God bless them, but they're already dead. And, I believe in God. I don't think they're in that sack of skin and bones anymore. So my job was to get around them as efficiently as possible and make sure I didn't die. So it didn't scare me. It was just in my way.
So we talk about ingredients of success. We talk about extreme preparation, discipline, not hitting the snooze button. How important is vulnerability in our success, both accomplishing things and as a leader? And tell us about the famous Werner Herzog quote that you love talking about so much.
Oh, the Werner Herzog quote is, the poet must not avert his eyes.
What does that mean?
That means if you're a real poet, and I extrapolate that to mean artist with a capital A, that means that you're honest about both the divine and the ghastly. You got to do both when you're an artist. You got to be honest about the things that scare you, the things that are hideous about yourself and the world, and also honest about the things that are miraculous and beautiful about the world. And you can't avert your eyes from either one.
What are three other important elements of our success, and what's your advice to everyone out there when they think about those three elements?
Number one, your smiles don't result from good things. Good things result from your smiles. So what does that mean? That's like, we wait for the external circumstances of our life to give us an excuse to be happy. But my understanding of the way the universe and life works is, if we can find a way to feel how we think we would, were those external circumstances the way we want them to be now, well, we create a space for those things to actually happen. So you don't have to wait for something to happen outside of you to be joyous. You can be joyous now. And I would argue you making that decision will make those external events happen faster. That's number one. And if I'm wrong, which I don't think I am, at least you're joyous. You know? Number 2 is keep going. You know, that became my mantra on the walk, came from my friend Dondrell. Most of us just give up way too early. And we have this saying in our society, which is, it wasn't meant to be. And
Bullshit.
yeah, most of the time. Most of the time when we're saying it wasn't meant to be, we're really saying, I'm fucking quitting. And so when you're making the decision to do something really great, you're going to be gifted opportunities to quit many times over. And those are gifts, because if you learn to not quit when all reasons point to you quitting, then you'll get the gift of possibility. You'll get the gift of transformation. You'll get the gift of liberation. You'll get the gift of living an unreasonable life. Number 3 is love yourself. Have you had Kamal Ravikant on?
No.
Yeah, you should. He wrote an amazing book called Love Yourself Like Your Life Depends on It. A lot of us men, we're type A, right? We're competitive. We make shit happen. We go forward, right? We hear those words, love yourself, and we're kind of like, fuck that. I might lose my edge. You know, if I stop beating the shit out of myself mentally, maybe I'll stop achieving. It's not true. In fact, you achieve more. And when you start to love yourself, you start being real honest about what's not serving you. You start being real protective of your time. You start being real protective of your mission, of your loved ones, and you're able to love others more, which at the end of the day, fuck everything I said, everything in the last 3 hours we've been talking or whatever. We're here to love. That's what a human being, like the highest expression of a human being is the human being in love. Loving others, serving others. And the way you can do that in an effective way is to love yourself.
You're one of the most thoughtful people that I've ever met. And I learned that from you before even
thank you, man.
Meeting you. You're very insightful. You're very deep in your answers, your thought process. I know you're very big into meditation. Can you talk about the importance of meditation in your life, and then your singing bowl and who Charlie is?
Meditation is an incredible tool. You're not your mind. It's really simple. You're not your mind. I mean, if you spend some time, forget about even meditating, just close your eyes right now and start observing the thoughts going through your mind. Most of them are repetitive or negative. They're not you. They're not you. Human being is so much more than the mind. Because the mind, what is the mind? The mind is a device that was evolved not to make you happy, to make you survive. The mind is mostly a scanning device for what might hurt us, what might go wrong. And so to try to use this thing to find happiness is sort of a fool's errand. Meditation is a way that we can observe the mind and actually shift our identity from the mind to the awareness of the mind. You're so much more than your mind is one tiny part of you. And when we learn to dwell in that new identification, that's when magic starts to happen. That's when miracles start to happen in our lives. That's when life becomes beautiful. That's when we're still showing up, we're still honoring our commitments, but there's a space there. We're going, hey, I'm not in control. I'm in love. And so meditation is, it's so funny, like all the secrets of life are not secrets. like the enlightened beings, Jesus, Buddha, they made it really clear, And so, yeah, man, meditation, whether you do a Vipassana retreat, which is free, you can sign up for a 10-day Vipassana retreat, or you do TM, which is mostly what I recommend to other people, because the people that do TM tend to stick with it. I've been studying recently with Krishnaji and Pretnaji, and I think they have One World Academy. I mean, there's so many resources and different kinds of meditation, but meditation is an incredible tool. And it's not all theory, right? There's a lot of peer-reviewed studies on the real data-proven, science-proven medical benefits of meditating. And any disease that has stress as a factor, heart disease, cardiovascular disease, like these are our top killers in the US. You meditate, you decrease your chances of it because you're less stressed. It just makes sense. And anyone can do it. Anyone can do it.
So we're getting toward the end of the show, and I appreciate you being so generous with your time. I want to talk about just something real now, because you're living in LA. You've had this crazy life. You've had all these friends when you're famous. How do you make friends when you're famous today? You live on a mountaintop, basically, this incredible pad. Mm-hmm. Are you going out? I mean, do you have a core group of buds? Are people approaching you when you go out to the supermarket? Hey, Mike, you want to have a beer with me down at Father's office?
Listen, I'm blessed. Maybe your podcast is going to change this for me, but I'm famous enough where I don't have to get a new job, I guess. It's like, but I'm not so famous that I can't go to the farmer's market, or I can't go. I might get recognized there, but it's not such that I can't go. And I make friends the same way we all should make friends, which is with my heart, and my friends are one of the best parts about me. I have, like, if I never made another friend, I would be abundant in that area of my life. And I've been abundant in that area of my life for a long time. And I have friends. My only thing with friends is not having enough time to be with all of them as much as I'd like. I got friends in Pakistan. I got friends in Nepal. I got friends in Ecuador. I got friends, man. And my core group is incredible.
You want to have a family?
Absolutely. I will have a family.
And
Absolutely.
Where do you go to meet women? I have a few famous friends.
I'm in love, so I don't go anywhere
perfect.
to meet women.
Okay. All right. Love it.
I go to my girl's house and that's it.
Right. So let's talk about Doug Evans, who, again, I want to shout out to Doug.
End that Doug Evans.
Yeah, we're gonna. Well, we got to talk about entrepreneurship and Sprout. So you and Doug have a company. It's a sprouting company, and when he was explaining to me, I'm like, "What? Yeah, what are you talking about?" So, what are you guys up to, and what's all the hype about Sprouts?
Well, listen, Sprouts is something I fell in love with.
Something that you eat, by the way.
Yeah.
Those are the kind of sprouts we're talking about right now.
Yeah, sprouting is something I fell in love with doing, and the process of it is just it's spiritual. So what are we actually talking about? You can grow in one of our kits, or you can make your own kit if you have the time to do so, or the wherewithal. In a glass jar on your kitchen countertop, you can grow your own superfood. And the process of doing so just changes your relationship to health, food, and it's a spiritual thing for me. So, it's kind of cool to have like 1 square foot on your countertop and to be able to grow this thing like without sunshine. It doesn't need soil. It doesn't need fertilizer, just the seeds and water. And you rinse them twice a day. It takes like 20 seconds total of work. And like, dude, I'm a busy guy. I travel. Like, I don't have time to have a garden. If I have a garden, it's going to die, right? And so sprouting is a way that I take my health serious, like really serious. And so when you read the health benefits of broccoli sprouts, it's kind of like miraculous. You know, doctors have treated cancer, some forms of cancer, with broccoli sprouts. And I typically, when I'm not traveling, I eat, 2 to 4 ounces of broccoli sprouts every day. And if I grow them myself, it's even better because they're alive. So, just from falling in love with this process, Doug had already started a company that was creating basically a comprehensive kit, because before our company, you had to get the seeds from somewhere, you had to buy a jar from somewhere, a top from someplace else. So we just try and make it easy for people to be healthy. And it just dovetailed with my mission. We talked about at the very beginning of the show, which is to help people be healthier and happier. So the sprouting company is one way we do that. We just sell the kits to grow your sprouts and just like up level your health.
What's that called, and where can they find it?
It's called The Sprouting Company. So you can go to sproutingcompany.com, and yeah, man, eat sprouts. It's good. It's good. They're like a drug. They give you a little buzz.
I'm going to try it. Before I met Doug and he was telling me about this, I never once thought about or heard about eating sprouts. I don't remember ever eating a sprout before, but
yeah,
I'm going to be all over it. I'm going to come back to you and tell you how I feel about that.
Yeah.
So before we finish today, I want to go ahead and ask some more open-ended questions. I call this part of my podcast, Fill in the Blank to Excellence. Are you ready to play?
Yes.
The biggest lesson I've learned in my life is...
have fun.
My number one professional goal is...
right now, is finish my book.
What's the name of the book, and when's it coming out?
I don't have all that yet.
Okay.
Yeah, I gotta write the mother first. We ain't talking about release yet, dude. It's like I wrote the first song of the album, and you're like, what day is it coming out? It's like, hey man, I got some more work to do.
My number one personal goal is...
I have a family.
My biggest...
healthy and beautiful family.
Someone told me this, my friend Rick Rivera, who had kids well before my friends had kids. And he said, you'll find out the meaning of life once your first child is born. And that is the understatement of the century. I have 5 beautiful, thankfully healthy kids, and I live for my kids. There's nothing I wouldn't do with them, for them. And every second of my life with them, I cherish.
That's beautiful.
Especially as they get older and they don't want to hang out with you anymore.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. I very much look forward to that. More than anything else. I got some pretty lofty career goals, all that stuff, and none of them excite me more than that. So thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome. The biggest regret in my life is...
when my dad was dying, I got in a big fight with my mom, like a screaming match. And we were supposed to be creating an environment that made it safe for him to go, which was basically to say in words, but also in actions, like, hey, when you die, we're going to miss you, but we're going to be okay. And when we were in that screaming match and he could hear us, we were doing the exact opposite.
Were you harmonious before he died and he was more comfortable that you were?
Yeah, my relationship with my mom is the best ever now. I mean, we were both grieving. We were both scared of losing dad, and we were expressing it in all the wrong ways.
My biggest fear in life is
mediocrity.
My purpose in life is...
I see, hear, feel, and know my purpose is to be a leader who unlocks the magic potential in myself and many others.
When I'm 50 years old, I'm going to be...
laughing.
The craziest thing that's ever happened in my life is...
I climbed Mount Everest.
The one thing that I've thought about doing for a very long time but haven't is...
Man, I'm proud that I've done most of those. I think, I won't be repetitive, but I think having a family again.
10 years from now, I'm going to be doing...
meaningful work.
What's the one question that you wish I had asked you but didn't ask you?
Oh man, you asked me a lot of questions. How good can life get?
How good can life get?
Really good.
How good?
Really good, man. Magical. And that's come from somebody who has had extended periods of life where I was thinking can it get any worse? And you just gotta keep going.
You've had this remarkable life, and I'm so happy to meet you in person after being a fan for such a long time. And you're a very deep, very real guy, and you've shared a lot of things, personal things, deep things that I think are going to resonate with all the people listening and watching my show today. So I'm really grateful, and it's just another example that anything is possible, no matter where we are in our life. Anything is possible.
That is right. You could be, do, or have anything.
Anything. This was the best, man. Appreciate you so much.
Thank you, Randall. Appreciate you.
Super appreciate it.
Absolutely.